the Magnetohydraulics Complex. Now, if you're like me, you're wondering what in the hell is magnetohydraulics? Well, it's coming from Magnetohydrodynamics, which is basically the study of how fluids interact with magnets, specifically liquids that have magnetic fields, and therefore they'll interact with magnets. Now, magnetohydrodynamics is an important field of research. It's very important for explaining things like solar flares and solar wind. It would be very important in a nuclear fusion reactor, which we would need to control hot plasma with magnets, and potentially used in some technology, such as designing pumps with no moving parts for things like liquid metal cooling. Hello everyone, the Army of Otters here, and welcome back to the Unexplored Mojave. Today we're going to be checking out the Magnetohydraulics Complex, and I went over all of the science about magnetohydrodynamics, which is a very interesting thing of research, but a lot of it just goes right over my head, so if you know more about it, please feel free to comment about it in the comments section below. Also, this location is recommended to me by Fake Slim Shady, who's been a huge supporter of the channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoy. Now, this location is just north of the sink and directly east of Signal Hill's transmitter. Now, it can be a bit difficult to find from above, but if you approach from above like I did, you just have to kind of make your way down this canyon, and then you can find the entrance, Magnetohydraulics Complex. And it's just kind of this building in the side of this cliff here. It is very well hidden, so who knows what kind of research they were doing inside. Next to the entrance, as you can see there are some duffel bags with random loot. As we enter, we find that the entire complex has pretty much been completely flooded. Who knows what transpired here or what happened? And if you have the Wild Wasteland perk immediately to your left, you're going to find the walking eyes. There's 3 of them inside of the complex. This is a reference to the TV show The Venture Bros episode Fallen Arches, where Dr. Venture uses his prototype walking eye as a lure to attract the attention of supervillains. Additionally, Dr. Venture is voiced by James Uberniak, who also voices Dr. O in Old World Blues. So all in all, a really cool Easter egg here, but unfortunately we don't have any more information about these walking eyes, besides the fact that it is an Easter egg. Now, as we continue exploring the facility, we're going to find this main building to our left. We have another walking eye, and next to the walking eye, we can find the sync project, sync. This is necessary for getting the sync to activate, which is important for all of my friends have off switches. But besides that, there isn't a whole lot of loot inside of this room, so we need to go diving. Now, unfortunately, the diveable area is not very big, but that doesn't mean we can't find some good loot. If you swim on down towards these tool cabinets, well, there's nothing in the cabinets themselves, but just go past the cabinets, and over here in the corner you can find proton throwing axes, which is pretty good. They're pretty valuable. And if you go to the very bottom, you're going to find this small kind of room with a collapsed portion that unfortunately we cannot access any further. There's a bunch of drained small energy cells down here, but not really a whole lot, but there is a footlocker with random ammunition inside. So pretty good. As we come out, we're going to find a toolbox. Go to the right of the toolbox, and you're going to find a ton of these energy cells. 200 to be exact, so pretty good find. And a toaster. Also, at the surface of the area, you're going to find a lot of floating stuff and a footlocker in the back corner. But with the floating stuff, you can find a ton of microfusion cells, so make sure you swim around and you find them. The microfusion cells next to the waterfall are drained, but you might be able to use them for crafting. And if you head on over to the back corner, there's going to be some more microfusion cells just kind of floating in the water. Now, I don't know if these are a consistent spawn or they just kind of float around and go wherever they want, so make sure you take a look around. Now, normally, once you've picked up the holotape for the sync, you will be attacked by Roboscorpions upon exiting the complex. However, for whatever reason, the Roboscorpions didn't spawn, even though I'm on very hard difficulty. But back at the sync, we can plug in the sync holotape, which activates our newest friend.
You're filthy. I suppose you'll want to clean up then? Oh, it's just so unsanitary. Do you know how many germs are in 1 cubic centimeter of dirt? 70, 100, gajillion. Would you want that getting washed down your gullet day in and day out? I didn't think so.
And yes, Miss Sink here's kind of not so nice and is very afraid of germs. Now, if you head on over to construction site, as we've already done, you can get the Sink Upgrade Water Production, which will turn any empty bottle into purified water, which is really good if you're playing with survival mode enabled. And I think that sums up the Magnetohydraulics Complex. However, as Fake Slim Shady said, this place is quite interesting, but it's also leaving some to be desired, and I wonder if the devs just didn't have time to develop it to its full potential. It would be really cool if there was more lore behind the walking eyes, besides just being an Easter egg. Also, it would have been pretty cool to explore some new aquatic creature that is only in Old World Blues. After all, there are all kinds of experiments and stuff going on here. The one place with a ton of water doesn't really feature anything special. Alright everyone, I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Unexplored Mojave, and I hope you learned something about Fallout or the real world. I know I learned a lot about the real world making this video. As always guys, thank you so much for watching. If you have any ideas or recommendations for future videos, future ideas, please post them in the comment section below. And as always, until next time.